What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. OG here, and what you are staring at you aren't going to understand yet because it's a ton of words. You see that it's obviously Discord, but then after that you see a jumble underneath what says weekly schedule. So your first thought's probably, I'm not reading all this, right? How am I supposed to understand all this? I'm going to explain it to you, and once you get it and really see why it's organized like this, it is going to become the single most important quality of life improvement within FC that you've ever received, okay? So give me a chance to explain. I'm going to walk you through FC25 since I can't show you the beta, and show you the changes in the menus and how this layout is going to help you day after day until the point comes where you have it memorized, your entire schedule, what you need to do every day. And that feeling of FOMO, that fear of missing out that you get, that feeling of overwhelming dissatisfaction within the game because you're just not content with keeping up with everything. You feel like everybody's ahead and people know stuff that you don't know, and you just get overwhelmed on trying to keep up, right? And then when you get out onto the pitch, you're thinking, my team's not even the best it could be. You lost a ton of coins. You missed out on a chance at some big rewards because you didn't know about certain objectives that you could have done easily through squad battles or the new tournaments mode or the new gauntlet. All of these things will become easy to organize, to stay on top of with this layout. So let's start. Within FC25, right, there is a way to look at the schedule and understand what it will look like in FC26, and that's what we're going to go through right now. So you go into Ultimate Team the same exact way. When you turn on the game, it's going to look like this, no different. However, once you go in to the actual Ultimate Team mode, this is where you get a change, okay? What they did was organize it better for you. They even added a For You tab based on what you play that you can go into and kind of they recommend the modes that you most likely would like to play. But you're going to want to ignore that, because if you follow that, you're going to miss certain events, tournaments, whatever, certain things that you're going to want to play. That's where my schedule comes in, because the For You isn't in depth. It just throws a couple things that you may want to try, right? But nonetheless, it's a good little addition, because as you're scrolling through, maybe you spot something that you want to play first. I don't know, it could become useful, but for us, we're going to ignore that. You go into play the exact same way, right? This general layout is the same. But then when you go into play, that's where there's a difference. Now, you'll have an organization where it's like competitive modes versus AI modes, and so on and so forth, okay? So you would see, for instance, like squad battles would be in the versus AI category. In the competitive category, you would have Rush, Rivals, Champs, and of course, the new Challengers. Then where you see Friendlies, because they took out Friendlies and replaced it with both Tournaments and Gauntlets, you will actually see Events and like Event Series or something like that right next to each other. I forgot the exact name, but when you see the layout, you will know what I mean. And that's where you can find all of your tournaments and gauntlets, right? And then of course you have your moments and then your online and offline draft. Now, when you look into how I laid this out in Discord, you will see that there's no PlayStation tournaments. That's because you don't get rewarded for PlayStation tournaments. That's something separate. You can get FC points, okay? But when you play PlayStation tournaments, it doesn't count towards like your daily games played or any type of objectives, nothing like that. It's separate. If and when you decide you want to take a shot at winning some FC points or whatever rewards PlayStation tournaments comes up with, of course you can always play that. But as you can see within the Discord, we have all different, things to help you to make your quality of life better. However, this weekly schedule is the most important for what you will play every single day. Right? You see the competitive modes, and you have everything listed out all the way down the line. Now, I'll just say it up front too, for those of you interested, they've now integrated the FC Pro qualification events and stuff like that within the menu and within the actual game itself for FC26. But that's essentially part of like the events and tournaments and stuff like that. So if you are interested, like I've done the past, since 2022, in playing against the top players in your region and potentially going to play the top players in the world if you're good enough, you will be able to do that right inside of the game now. No going. For instance, in the past, we went to a third-party site called Battlefly. We then used Discord, which you actually see here. I still have it. And that's where you would talk to the admins, talk to other players, and then you'd use Battlefly to match up with players, and then you'd have an FC Pro mode on your menu. I could have showed it to you, but this is a brand new account that I wasn't using earlier in the year, as many of you know. But it was just like a separate mode, and all you do is click in there and invite your opponent that you matched up with on Battlefly. All that's gone. They simplified it, which is a good thing. So that's not in here either, but just like with PlayStation tournaments, if you're interested in doing the FC Pro stuff, you would simply check into that tab, follow the instructions on when you need to play, what restrictions you have for squads, and then you go from there. It's that simple. This is for, let's say, your everyday regular player. No, not the players that are looking to go pro or at least see what that level's all about, the higher level players. This is for your typical FC player that gets overwhelmed because they want to be committed to the game. They want to keep their team in tip-top shape, but it's just they don't know where to start, right? So, unfortunately, we have Discord to thank for this little kind of jumbled up layout. I had it perfectly organized, and then when you paste it in, for whatever reason, the way their format works, it kind of pushes the lines together. So that's why you see some of this, like you see the end of Monday, and then you see tournaments on this same line. There's nothing I could do there. But if you follow the simple rule of reading left to right, all the way down the line, you are going to be able to see everything you need, and I'm going to walk you through it here. Obviously, you see I pinned the messages, so this will remain on top of the weekly schedule. So let's start at the very top. I will read through it, then I will go through within the FC25 menu and show you how you will use this within the game to stay on top of things. So it starts, check your daily and weekly checklist before playing every day, right? And actually, you're going to see me on live change this because I changed that word to tasks. Because that's what it is. Checklist or task, it doesn't matter. But check your daily and weekly tasks before playing every day. You go over here, and what do you see when you scroll up? EAFC daily tasks, EAFC weekly tasks. So you check those every day. Within your daily task, you have SBCs, objectives, and evolutions. Okay? Within your weekly tasks, you have new promos. Whether they come out or not, they're slowing down, apparently, the amount of promos they release. But if there's new ones, you can find all information on the new players released. The top players, the steals, the players that are cheaper but are steals in the promos. Everything you need for promos is here. Squad check, tactics, scouting players. Squad check, you simply put your squad in, ask any questions you want on your squad, and then people will critique where you can improve. They'll get ideas from your squad. You can get ideas from theirs. It's just a good place to make sure that you have the best players in each position for the setup you're using. And then you check the setup itself here. Now for each of these, you can click in and you can get a little detailed explanation. In-depth breakdown for formation settings, player roles, play styles, and more. Make sure your tactics are set for optimal performance. So you have those little tidbits, and you'll see all of the different posts, and that's how you can get ideas for different tactics. People can give you ideas based on how you're playing, where you can change it to make it better. And then, of course, scouting players. Same thing. When you want to update your team, as you can see here, find the best players at every price range in every position, and also find the right players to upgrade your squad throughout the season. So let's say that you find a steal of a player, and he's just dominating for your team. You post him up there, post his price, and then let players know your experience. And now they don't have to scroll through Footbin and a million different trolls and people that they don't trust, that they don't know. You can find players that are like-minded, that want to get the best out of the game like you, and you know that you have a good feedback on different tactics, different players, and things like that. That's what this offers. It offers the best information you could get for everything. So you see there, daily task, and then of course that was weekly task. So once you go back in to competitive mode's weekly schedule, you've now checked your daily and weekly task before playing every day. Maybe you see certain tasks each day you go through and you don't need to go through all of them. Maybe you check your tactics on like a Tuesday, so now you don't need to check them again until you feel the need to, right? But you make sure you just have these reminders up here. Remember, new content comes out every day at 12 noon Central US. You can, tie that. You probably already know if you play FC, but if not, you tie that time to whatever your time zone is, and you know to check for new content every day at that time. And then, based on your schedule and desire, this is what I was talking about though, it pushed this up for whatever reason instead of starting it on a new line. Thank Discord for that. But either way, based on your schedule and desire to play these modes, don't forget to look into Rush mode, Squad Battles, Draft, both online and offline, as well as Moments, which will have objectives tied to them that you will see during your daily tasks, right? When you're checking objectives, you'll see like, oh, you can get a certain player in objectives if you win like 5 games with 3 Italian players and then score 10 goals with a Premier League player, right? And then you can say, okay, I want to do those objectives or I don't. And you'll see which modes you can play it in. Usually it will be like Rivals, Champs, or Squad Battles. If it's something where you can change your team up and not take a hit too bad, then you can do the objectives right in with your typical Rivals and Champs games. If it's something where you're going to have to use lower rated players to meet the requirements, then of course it will tell you if you could do it in Squad Battles or even Rush maybe. That's where you are going to take advantage of having this organized where you're not missing out. There's tons of times where players will miss out on certain players. I'll see in Footbin, they'll go, wait, where was this player at? How come I couldn't get him? It's like, dude, it was in objectives. And they go, man, I missed it. I was playing with 2 Italian players. If I just added one more, I could have got so-and-so, right? There's so much going on that players, they turn on the game to play. They skim through, but they don't know what they're skimming through exactly. They're just kind of looking, and they might stumble upon something, but when you go that route, you're going to miss things, right? This organizes every single day into what you play, right? And then obviously, over here, you have everything else that you can get help with. Anything in the game, you name it, you have places for it here. And of course, if you have any questions, we have that as well, right? Obviously, there's more perks even for memberships, not just Discord memberships, but there's OGFC starters. If you're a YouTube member and a Discord member, you become automatically an OGF starter, and you have your own area where you have my ear 24/7, and you get instant content for everything. And then, of course, MVP comes with 1v1 coaching in an exclusive area where you'll have your own videos, your own footage broken down. Obviously, you'll have my ear 24/7, everything the starters gets, and that's just the maximum amount of help that you possibly could get. For instance, right now, players that I coach, they have my cell, and we talk all the time, right? Then when there's co-op and things like that, they're the first partners that I reach out to. Now, obviously, we can work stuff like that out because there's enough top-level players that we can set up co-op teams, we can interchange, and make sure that we're getting things done. Because one thing that's happening this year and beyond is they're integrating more co-op only tournaments, events, and things like that. And there's plenty of times where, even in the past, where players want certain rewards, but they don't have someone to compete with. I saw it happen yesterday. Me and Phil were playing the co-op cup, although FC26, just the gameplay's terrible, but we play a couple games, and I had Owen in the chat say, man, I don't have a partner to play with. That's taken care of within this Discord because there will always be players to play. You go down here into co-op, other modes, co-op, and you would put in there, hey, I'm looking to play X, Y, and Z. Is anybody available? Boom, yeah, I'll jump on with you. It's as simple as that, right? So this schedule helps you organize how you play every day, and then this helps you stay up to date with everything else in the menus, on the pitch, whatever, so that every area of the game you have help with. So now let's get into the actual weekly schedule. On Monday, Rivals, first and foremost. After that, you look into tournaments and or gauntlets, because there's not always going to be both. Sometimes there's going to be tournaments and then gauntlets coming up, and they give you a little preview, like coming in 2 days, this gauntlet or this tournament with these restrictions. So you can get ready ahead of time, and that's where the Discord will help too, because we will have suggestions on what to do to meet these restrictions. We will have laid out teams that you can actually purchase, and you don't have to worry about it, right? Because that's the other thing. Whenever there's different restrictions, you can't just go in with your squad and play. You have to add that time and effort in, and sometimes it's pretty difficult. You will have help here, right? To where if you want, you just copy and paste the teams that we provide and you can get right to playing. Maybe that's all you have time for. So Monday's that. Tuesday, same exact thing. Wednesday, same exact thing. But then Thursday, Wednesday really into Thursday, early morning, 3 a.m. Central US, you get your Rivals rewards. So by that early morning hour, you're going to have all of your either, as you can see here, play up to weekly rewards and or weekly rewards upgrades success. Depending on what you want to accomplish. You win X amount of games to get your weekly rewards, or you play X amount of games to get the points so you can have your weekly rewards upgrade. It is a pretty significant increase between the two, but depending on your skill level and your division, you might only be able to get the regular weekly rewards and have to work up to this. That's fine, but you know you want to play Rivals up to Wednesday, okay? Once you reach the points you're satisfied with, whether it's rewards or rewards upgrade, then you can move on to tournaments and or gauntlets. And then you follow those restrictions, follow what you have to win to get the rewards, and hopefully get them. If you play, you don't get them, so be it. At least you're organized, your schedule's organized. And then as you improve, you can win more rewards, and the thing that definitely won't happen anymore is you won't miss out on the opportunity to play. So let's skip ahead. We got Monday through Wednesday, pretty much just Rivals, then tournaments and or gauntlets if you have time. Now you got your rewards for Rivals on Thursday, and you move on, tournaments and or gauntlets, right? And then at the bottom of every day you see, if you have time, play other modes now, okay? So that's just like Rush or Squad Battles, or even if you want to get a head start on your Rivals instead of waiting all the way for Monday, if you have time anytime between Thursday through Sunday, obviously get some Rivals done, and there will be less to do from Monday through Wednesday, right? Then you move into Friday right here, and of course you have champs or challengers. The higher divisions you play champs, the lower divisions it's challengers. I don't know if it's like division 6 and up is champs and then the lower is challengers, or if it's like division 8 and up. I don't know the cutoff. But basically, everyone will have essentially like a weekend type of champs league. It's just now the higher ranked players will play together in one for higher rewards. The lower ranked players will play for lower rewards in challengers. So you obviously want to get that done between Friday and Sunday, or sometimes they extend it to Tuesday. But as long as you read here, champs or challengers based on qualification, and also check start and end time. That way you'll know the time frame you have to complete all the games. Then it says play to completion within the time limit. There you go. It's as simple as that. Then once you finish, you can look back into tournaments and gauntlets, because you never know which day they're going to add them unless they start putting them on a certain day of the week every week, in which case you'll remember that, right? And then from there, the same thing. If you finish your champs challengers over the weekend between Friday and Sunday, or Friday and the cutoff, then you look at tournaments and gauntlets and you get done with that. Then, if you have time, you can play other modes. It's as simple as that. So just every day it's laid out for you, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, repeat. If you have any specific questions within these modes, Rivals, tournaments, gauntlets, which will be found in the events or an events series or whatever, champs, challengers, rush, squad battles, draft, moments. The FC Pro thing and the PlayStation tournaments, they aren't in here. Just because FC Pro is kind of like an event, right? They tied it into tournaments / gauntlets to that series area. It's kind of got its own space. And because not everybody's going to be competing in that, if you are, you of course can go down and there's areas to speak in general. So that's your schedule layout. And of course you will go in to play, and then you'll have everything laid out here. It will just be more organized. Like I said, you'll have your competitive side, your verse AI side, and then you'll have your event series, which are tournaments and gauntlets, and of course moments in drafts. So it's just this same layout, but more organized. And you will use the schedule that I have right here to make sure that you are every single day on top of what you need to be on top of. You will get to a point very quickly where you remember this. You memorize it. And from there, you won't even need to use this. But it's nice to be able to check back to from time to time, right? Maybe you start to get away from the regular schedule and then you're like, man, I need to check back into that. I'm missing some things. You always have it to reference. Not to mention, like I said, you have all these different areas that you can access. Now, let's say for whatever reason, PlayStation tournaments or the FC Pro area becomes somewhere where a lot of people are talking about it. There's a lot of conversation. There's a reason to add it. It takes 2 seconds. We add it to competitive modes, right? If there's anything else you have suggestions or players want added, it takes 2 seconds. We add it in, right? For my previous Discord, when it was more just a general football Discord, right? Before we committed to having our own club, our own area where our community, our team can look for help and make sure we're on top of things. I had added channels all the time that people requested, and they would take off like wildfire. And that's all it is a place to share information in different categories. The more organized, the better, because when things are organized, everybody knows where to look for the information they want to find. If you just have like one area, I even have an area if you want to talk about UFL and eFootball, but because I'm not following those games in depth, I don't have it broken down, right? Meaning eFootball, and then even though those games severely lack modes and content, it's just an area where if you want to talk about those games, you can go there. But let's say down the road someone's like, hey man, a lot of us play eFootball as well, and we really want to share our tactics. Boom, simply like I did in my last Discord, I add a other football area and then eFootball tactics. I mean, the more organized you are, the better players can find information, both general and specific, right? Something as general as helpful tips for anything, maybe there turns into a huge conversation over a specific area of tips, and then we create a separate channel for that. It's all it is. This isn't set in stone, but everything here, such as this schedule for daily game modes and what to play, it's here to make your life easier. It's here to help you get rid of all that anxiety and that, that almost like, oh, it's a chore to turn on the game because I know I'm going to be overwhelmed and I'm going to be afraid I'm missing this and that. And we don't want any of you to feel that. You should be enjoying your football games. You should be enjoying any video game. If it ever feels like a chore, unless you're getting paid the big bucks. I could see pros getting pretty stressed out like a normal job. I get it because there's big money on the line. But for anybody else, it should be fun, and this is a way to take a game that has a lot going on and organize it for you and give you the information so you can stick to the fun part, stick to competing and putting the time in to keep improving so you can reach your full potential. So, hopefully this was helpful. If you like this video, please smash that like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and as you can see here, $2.99 a month for all of this help. It is worth its weight in gold without a doubt. So hopefully you can join. Link is in the YouTube bio, or if you just want to search OGamester FC on Discord, you will find us there. Then you have YouTube memberships, as I talked about before. Now, the YouTube memberships, you see here, you have OGFC team member and OGFC MVP. This is both right here, automatic Discord memberships through this. This is on Discord. This YouTube OGFC MVP, this is strictly through YouTube. This includes coaching. Why it's set up like that, I'm sorry, that's just how it works. I can't change it. But it is integrated, right? For the OGFC starters, this is when you are a YouTube community member, which is where you want early content. You want your comments answered first, right? Whenever there's live streams, you want the ability to get heard every single time. right? And right off the bat, if there's any opportunities to jump on and play or you have any questions, they get answered right away. That's what a YouTube community member, the type of perks you get. But say you want that and the Discord, which would be the OGFC team member, that's where it integrates and it automatically pushes you to an OGFC starter. These are the areas. The starters area, 24/7 access for anything you have questions about, and instant content drop. As you know, content creators, they have stuff days in advance, weeks in advance, months in advance sometimes, right? Because you don't want to overload people with video. Even though I drop a lot of content, it could be overwhelming for a lot, and things could fall through the cracks. But for those of you who want to stay on top of everything and get it in advance, way more advanced than any other channel, I can guarantee you, that's one of the perks of becoming a starter, because you're paying both $2.99 a month for Discord to get all this value, and $2.99 a month as an OGFC YouTube community member, so you get this extra perk of becoming a starter. Simple as that. Then, of course, the MVP area, right? That's where the 1v1 coaching, the 1v1 videos, everything like that exists. Not to mention you have access to the starters area and priority speaking over everything, right? Meaning you're always going to be heard first and foremost. And these are all things that are earned because you're supporting the channel, you're getting your value, but I also want to give you something more in return. That's all this is, right? When you pay the $2.99 a month for Discord, you already get your weight in gold in all that this Discord brings you. As FC26 comes out, this becomes literally a life-saving hub for many players. All those players that I was talking about earlier, this becomes that go-to area that keeps you on top of the game and changes all that nonsense you had to deal with in the past. If you want all that early content, everything I spoke about on YouTube, when you're paying for both, you're paying $6 a month towards the channel, right? And you're getting your value already, but it's just me saying I want to offer you more. That's why I created this OGFC starters group. So it's as simple as that. If you don't want any of this, but you like the content in general and you don't really care, maybe you feel like you're already organized on an FC, there's ways to donate to the channel too. So you can always help. Obviously, it takes money to make things happen, and anything you can help with is great, but you don't have to give money to be part of this community. It will help, obviously, and I try to give things in return, as you can see, but if you don't have it, it's totally understandable. You're every bit as welcome as anybody else in the community. I just want to make sure I fully explain the layout of all this. I know there's so many cash grab content creators out there. There's so much BS and scamming and stuff. So I wanted to make sure to show you, and I wanted to make sure to explain to you what all this is about, right? Because it takes a lot of time and effort. It takes away from other areas where you could potentially be making money. And so that's where you have to add these prices for things, right? It would be great if everyone could do every service they could offer, whatever skills they have, whatever they have to offer for free. The world doesn't work that way, as you know. But for these prices and the value you get, I'm truly excited about that. So, hopefully this was helpful. Again, please like, please subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Peace!